Okay, so in this video, we're going to be determining whether we're going to be given a term and we're going to determine if it actually shows up in our sequence. So that's what we're focusing on in this one. So using the sequence 12, 5, -7, -9, I went ahead and already found the equation for us, which is t of n equals -7n plus 19. So remember, -7 comes from the sequence, that's our common difference for an arithmetic sequence. And in this one, it was a -7, so that's how we got that. It's minusing 7 each term. Remember, the plus 19 is our 0 term. Remember, it doesn't actually show up in the sequence, but we have to find it in order to have the sequence so we know it starts when our first term is 12. That'll help us get that. So now when it says now my first question is for A is negative 226 a term? So that's asking, is t of n going to equal negative 226? So negative 226 is going to represent our whole t of n. So we're looking for the term number, or what position negative 226 would be in. And if it shows up in the sequence, our n value will be a positive whole number, or 1, 2, 3. It won't be any decimals or anything like that, and it won't be a negative. Okay? If we were to get a negative or a decimal, we know it's not a term number. So that way, or we know it wouldn't be a term because the term number would be a negative or a decimal, which can't be possible in a sequence because that's not a position we can be in. So using our equation here, like we talked about, negative 226 is going to be our t of n value. So in my equation, I'm going to replace the whole t of n with negative 226. So I'm going to say negative 226 because that is t of n. And I'm going to say that equals negative 7. I'm not replacing my n here, though. It's just going to stay negative 7n plus 19. And we're going to solve our equation backwards here through this, okay, using our inverse operation skills. So remember, first thing you got to do is you got to get n by itself, so you got to get rid of a plus 19, and that is to minus 19. Okay, so minus 19, minus 19. So then when you do that, you get negative 245 equals negative 7n. Now to solve for it, now you're going to need to continue to solve for n. So we're going to divide by negative 7 on both sides, and that gets us, see here, that'd be 3, and then another 5, so 35 equals n. So once you get to this point, you got to ask yourself, is this a term? Can you be at spot 35, or can your term number be 35, which means your spot? Can you be at spot 35? And in this case, yes, you can be. So is negative 226 a term? Yes, it is a term. Okay, it is a term because we are at a positive whole number. We're not at a decimal, and our term number is not a decimal or a negative. So let's do one more here. Let's do B. So this time I'm going to say let's go with negative 127 a term. Okay, so the same thing goes here. We're going to put so in this question, is negative 127 a term? That means negative 127 represents t of n. So we're going to take our whole t of n and replace it with negative 127. So I'm going to do that in my equation. So I have t of n, so I'm going to say negative 127 equals, I'm not going to replace my n value because we only replaced our t of n. So equals negative 7n plus 19. Now we're going to solve this equation, or this equation like we did before. We have in the past, so we're going to minus 19 from both sides. So the negative 127 minus 19 is negative 146. Okay, and that's going to equal negative 7n. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide by a negative 7 on both sides. Okay, and we get n equals, negative 146 divided by a negative 7. Oops, negative 146 divided by a negative 7. It's going to equal 20.86. 20.86. So when you get to this point, you have to ask yourself, can you have your term number or your n value be a decimal? And in this case, no, we cannot. A term number can only be positive, and it has to be a whole number. Okay? So in this case, is negative 127 a term? No, it is not. And the reason why is because you cannot have your term number be a decimal. Okay? So remember, term number cannot be a decimal or negative. Okay? If you run into that case where you're